Hi, I'm Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, here we are, West Point, Mississippi. We got a room full. Everybody's excited. Dudley and Lanny are matching. Y'all must have
we coordinated
did something today.
Pants,
Not
boots,
really.
shirt, everything.
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, we got the same color stuff on.
Yeah, but Dudley's got a little more camo consciousness too.
I've got more flair.
What? I got on bottom line. What's
Yeah,
up?
white.
Huh?
Your logo is white. His is like camo embedded.
I'm not turkey hunting. That's all right.
Whatever.
Well, black is, Lanny has really started wearing black, y'all. He's like Johnny Cash or something now.
What? I
Yeah.
don't know about all that.
You
So
do wear
some-
black a lot.
Could be the Halloween coming out anymore.
I do wear black a lot. I do. I wear camo or black because when I stain it, you can't tell. You're good to go.
That would be.
And you stain it.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
do.
saying.
I
That would be
can-
good. That would be.
I'm the
That's good.
I'm always
So looking down the table, the bosses here. Anytime we're talking ducks and we're talking oak trees, Toxie's going to slide in for sure. It's a guarantee. Dudley, so it's a tribute to you.
We'll try not to get too jibber-jabbery.
Yeah. So, and sitting, look, guys, we've got two great guests here today. So we've had Jim Ronquest once before from Drake Waterfowl.
And it took us 3 months to recover.
That's right. So Jim, as we discussed that last time, has brought a guest with him, and we're real excited to have Ryan Askew. And Ryan,
Askren.
we're real excited
Askew.
to have Ryan Askren.
He was just so excited
Not the
about
worst it's
going to
been
say,
pronounced.
hey, can we ask you these questions? And so he just.
Bobby is notorious for asking somebody how to pronounce their name and then still messing it up.
I am, yeah. 'Cause
You have that on the big
'cause
job.
I did that earlier. I said,
you
how do
did.
you pronounce
You
it?
did
And
all
I've
the-
still messed it up. So I don't know what's the matter with me there.
The
but
spirit of Uncle Bud.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hey, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a biologist, and you're interested in a lot of things we are.
I think he's an ecologist, isn't he?
Waterfowl ecologist is what I would call myself. So
Not a
broader-
biologist.
Well, they're roughly the same, but more interested in how animals are interacting with their
Labels,
environment.
Bobby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Well,
also I
It's
study
the
ducks.
wisdom, the knowledge, the insight, the experience, not the labels.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for addressing me like that.
So we look. You're from Arkansas, Arkansas Monticello. Is
Yep.
that right? And you're what all do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a researcher instructor. I'm working for the Five Oaks Ag Research and Education Center through the University of Arkansas Monticello. So it's just a private-public kind of partnership with Five Oaks Duck Hunting Lodge with the university, really getting at some waterfowl and waterfowl habitat questions.
Well, when we were preparing for this, Lanny, if you remember, we've got Red-Headed Rob over here now working and helping us, and he put some questions out on social media, and I was so impressed. Our listeners asked some fantastic questions. I mean, we got some smart listeners.
No doubt
I don't know that we're going to have time to answer all these questions, but one of them was, what's the difference in a biologist and an ecologist?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure I have a great answer, but yeah, ecologists are really more interested in the relationship of the kind of organism, the animal, with the environment, interacting with the environment, whereas biology kind of implies more focused on that organism.
Okay.
So that's the
Oh,
best.
that's
the
a good
best
answer.
I
I
can
was
do.
going to say the difference was like an E and a C versus a B and a I.
That too.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those ologies.
That's the kind of question
Seems
you
like it's
get
more
in college
macro,
where you
micro.
have to write the exact definition down of each.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't do
That's
very
one,
well
that's
in
one of those
college.
classes I didn't do well in either.
Well, we're gonna talk about migrations. We're gonna ask you about some red oak issues. We've got a lot to talk about. So before we get this thing started, Mike, you over there? Are you texting? What do you got going on over there? But
Yeah,
well, that's a
checking the
good thing to
weather.
do. Speaking of weather, if
It's
we
supposed
don't
to.
get some rain,
Don't talk about it. We
Yeah.
got good things on the horizon. Don't talk
yeah.
about it.
boy, this.
When your team has got a 1-run lead in the ninth, do you talk about it? Does your pitcher got a no-hitter in the seventh? Do you talk about it? Don't talk about rainfall today.
We've got a home
That's it.
game.
No more talk
All
about
right.
You were
all
in the
right.
penalty.
it. Good gracious, Bobby.
So, Mac, would you? We've got a commercial. This podcast is brought to you by who?
Apex Ammunition.
Oh,
My
yeah.
buddy
yeah.
is in Columbus.
Go.
Yeah.
We talk about saving the ducks and duck habitat, but we also like shooting ducks too. And so they've actually partnered with Mossy Oak on this with a shadowgrass habitat blend, which is still over tungsten. The box is super cool. I mean, they make a superior product. I mean, it's all hand loaded, right across the river from us over here in West Point. I mean, just great people, veteran owned, and I think their shells speak for themselves.
Look, their shells are awesome.
Hey, you shoot better with them, so I mean, it makes you a better one.
I've seen Lanny be able to hit more ducks with them. That's for sure.
If they adjust his aim, then they're worth the
Hey,
extra money.
Showtime's coming up, buddy.
Yeah,
Bobby,
it is.
down there.
I can't. We always have so much fun. But,
Yeah, we
but
do.
that's the Apex Ammunition, guys. If you hadn't tried it, it's worth
It's
trying.
amazing.
I can vouch for it. I've used it in Canada, shot open weekend specs this past weekend, and it is amazing what that load will do.
Toxie, did your phone ring?
The,
Don't know.
on the
to
trip?
go to
Canada.
Canada?
No, not to Ohio also either.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah.
I was there too.
He has
He's on the trail. I
already,
like it.
yeah, behind our back with some of our co-workers, some of our closest brethren
Yes.
have shattered feathers with him already.
Wow.
I know who you're talking about.
I think he prevented that brethren from being on the podcast last week, as a matter of fact.
Good. I'm sure that's
Yeah.
exactly when it went
Yeah,
down.
Highly possible.
Yeah.
Highly possible. But I was a guest also, so I had nothing to say.
Oh,
about it.
right.
Had nothing to say.
You could have said no.
Well, I could have had.
Well,
but I
did y'all
didn't.
have a good hunt?
We did. We did. We had a great hunt.
Good.
As a matter of fact, you don't think of northern Ohio as a waterfowl hotspot along the coastal marsh of the Great Lakes, but it was
Yeah.
It's
was
amazing. I've been up
very
there.
amazing. Quite good. Quite good.
Any Jack Miner bands in the?
No jack miner bands, but I was looking for one. We killed a couple black ducks. Pintails, you had to be careful not to shoot too many pintails. And it was really good.
Those black ducks. Toxie, I always think about. You said that when I first moved here, you said we used to kill black ducks all the time.
They were just almost as much as mallards.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened with that.
No, I remember it too.
Well, maybe we can get into
Say
that.
in
but-
the 80s, there were lots of them around here. I mean, you'd see them every time you went.
I think the first duck I killed was black duck.
Going back, the Apex Ammunition.
I looked at
Guys,
the
y'all gotta give it a
detail and
try.
the thought these guys put into ammunition. I mean, the studies they're doing with this stuff. I mean, next level. So, yeah.
Good stuff. So moving on to Blood on the Biologic, there was one thing that I wanted to point out. The state of Georgia has now made it legal to harvest or kill whatever you manage raccoons 12 months out of the year. So
Good.
that's a step in the right direction for our turkeys.
pretty
And
good. No question about
I don't think I realized you couldn't kill a turkey 12 months. I mean, kill a raccoon 12
Yeah, I
months.
hope you can't, Bobby.
I didn't realize it. So it in Mississippi.
Some states, I know, I remember hearing the podcast that Cuz did with Chuck, and he's like, that's one of the first things he did when he kind of took over in Alabama. So I know that one's okay. I'm not sure about Mississippi.
Yeah.
I think they still have limitations, but there shouldn't be.
Well, hats off to
Yeah.
Georgia for doing that, and Chuck, if you did that in Alabama, hats off to you there. Terry Drury, guys, killed a deer this past week. That's the biggest deer he's ever, and that's saying
That
something.
is.
That is saying something.
Yeah, if it's
When
a
the
Drury and
jury's-
it's biggest
yeah,
ever, it's big.
It's big.
239 pounds after it was dressed.
Wow.
He pushing 300 pounds. He referred to it as a slob.
When
Yeah.
you said 239, I was fixing to hear net or something
Yeah,
after that. I was
yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, I don't know
On the
what
hook,
it
on the
scored. I
hook.
don't know what it scored. I
Yeah,
think
when you say slob, it's a big deer.
it was a big deer. Wow. So congrats to him. And there's a guy I wanted to give a shout out. I don't know this guy, but I like the way he's thinking. There's a guy in Minnesota that caught the state record muskie, and he released it. And he measured it, and now some of these states are allowing people to measure fish and then release, so the fish doesn't have to be killed like it used to have to be.
Wow.
So I wanted to shout out to Minnesota for allowing that. And this
right.
guy, his name is Eric Back. He
That's
caught
cool.
a
That is-
58 and a half inch muskie and measured it, did everything right, and then released it. So
Nice.
yeah,
Congrats.
yeah, that's
Thumbs
the way
up.
to do it.
Most fishermen down there catch a 58-inch muskie. They're going to eat it. You know,
Yeah.
They
down
catch
in the
a
South. Yeah.
4-inch muskie, they're going to eat it around here, or a fish.
Yeah, Dudley, you got anything to add to the Blood on the Biologic? Lanny, you got anything?
Sam Color's on the board. Yeah,
He sure
our own
is.
Go Sam.
Go
Imagine
Sam.
that.
Yeah, imagine that. He's got a pretty good spot up there.
I'd say.
So gotta give a shout out to Sam.
Deer had some cool character.
What do you call it? The turkey foot buck or something?
Yeah,
like
turkey
that?
foot buck.
Turkey foot buck. So
Yep.
yeah. So wish those guys well.
Sure. All right. Before we start asking questions, one more thing I want to point out, Lanny. Can you tell me about this boatload of chips thing that's going on?
Man, look, we've got a great promotion going on with our partners at Uncle Ray's and Sea Arc. So they're giving away a boatload of chips, literally. So it's a Sea Arc's got a Suzuki 25 on it, I believe. Of course, better in Bottomland, all tricked out in Bottomland, and it comes with a bunch of chips. So run to mossyoak.com. You can see the landing page there to get entered to win.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to shout out to Uncle Ray's
Oh,
because
my
they're
goodness.
not only a great promotional partner, great business people, they make a great product.
I just ate a half a bag before I came in here.
Honestly, when the samples came in, I mean, I was expecting, that it'd be pretty good,
Yeah.
or whatever, but they are really, really
Oh,
good
yeah.
potato chips.
Yeah.
So I have to give them a shout out. And actually, I gave up potato chips for Lent one
No,
year.
you
That's
are
how
a potato
addicted
chip
I
guy.
am every day, potato chip guy. So.
You like the Obsessed or the Bottomland Barbecue?
Oh,
Which one?
yeah, the all
You like 'em
dressed.
all?
The
The all
obsession,
dressed?
yes,
Yeah, those
the
are
all
good.
dressed. The barbecue's great,
Yeah.
but those all dressed and they're unique.
Yeah.
They
Those are
good.
delicious if you can find them somewhere.
I like the
We're gonna send y'all
jalapeno
home
cheese.
with some. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Ryan, we'll get you some.
Some,
Well,
some
promise
that'd be
you.
some road
Yeah.
food.
Yeah, we sure will. So, Mike, I want you to pay attention. Need you to join in. You're a very inquisitive person. So let's get this thing started. I'd like to start with understanding the migration a little bit. And when these ducks start coming south, what makes them decide to do so? Is it the length of the day, or what? Can you explain that, please?
Yeah. So a lot of it's and we talk in kind of straight lines a lot, but nature never works in straight lines. So this is kind of a generalization, but a lot of it's photo period. So they're sensing the day length and figuring out, getting ready, kind of staging, prepping for that migration. But then the actual immediate cue a lot of times is weather changes. That's right now. I mean, it's going to be like, 80 degrees here today.
Yeah.
We're just not seeing. We've got a bunch of transmitters up in Canada and North Dakota, and they're
Sitting
hanging
still.
out. They're
Yeah.
warm and happy right now. So
I don't
they
blame
are-
us. Pretty hot yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
yeah. I wouldn't want to be down here if I were mallard duck yet.
Food plots appreciated though. So.
Yeah.
Do they wait as long as they can in terms of staging with other ducks, or does that freeze up there? You said photo period, so
Yep.
I'm listening. I'm
Yep,
not
so
paying
we-
attention to that, but
Yep. So we have some that are gonna move with that photo period. Mr. Jody Pagan always calls them Halloween ducks. So usually we get a good push of mallards into Arkansas right around Halloween, right around now. So they're kind of coming no matter what, whether it's freezing up there or not. And then there's just a gradient in between that. So there are some that are gonna stay up there till freeze up, till they get snow on the ground, and there are some that are just gonna kind of start trickling down on their own. So it's the whole spectrum.
There's also got a buddy of mine has an opinion on the halfway point between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. That photo period time right there creates, and he can pick it on his farm year to year. He always gets a big influx of ducks and geese at that same time. So I think that's all calendar driven to some degree. Weather pushes that somewhat. Ryan and I talked about it all the way over here. The difference between photo period and how weather helps drive that.
Interesting.
so can you explain what you're talking about? Just you went through that so
He's a certified
fast.
smart person.
No.
I'll let him dissect
What would the
that.
date be this year?
What is the date of that? I'd have to look at it.
I'll look it up.
So I was looking at our transmitter movements last year, and I think it was right around November 10th last year is when a lot of our mallards were really triggering that migration back south.
So that's the midway point between.
Oh,
The
you're
fall
talking midway
equinox
point. Yeah,
and the winter solstice.
Okay.
So winter solstice is December 21st, right? It's always the shortest day of the year. So when is the fall equinox? Has it just hit?
September the 22nd.
So
September
what's that?
22nd.
Whatever that halfway point is. So Case and Short, give a
probably
shout out to
first
Case
week
and
of
Short
November.
and the Bill Byers Hunter Farm. That's kind of their deal. That's when their numbers are typically the highest year in, year out.
Interesting.
Yeah, that really is. So as these ducks start migrating south, do they imprint on certain farms, certain areas, and then revisit those historically? Is imprinting a big deal?
Yeah, and I struggle using the term imprinting, but yeah, I mean they're incredible at really kind of assessing the benefit of a given site and being able to remember where they were able to get that good food, where they were able to escape pressure, and they're able to return to those same sites And we've seen incredible ducks and geese. I mean, returning to the same nest bowl, returning to the same migratory stopover. So yeah, there's definitely, if they hit a good resource on the way down, then they're probably going to hit it again the next year.
But as far as waterfowl is concerned, how many years would you need a quality food source to really make a difference on imprinting?
A new property? Yeah, that's a great question. We were talking on the way up here. I mean, it seems like there's historic kind of core use areas where ducks year after year are coming back. Even when the landscape changes, they're still going to come back to that same spot. So it can last a long time. I mean, you can still lose it pretty quick if you lose that food in terms of like developing a new property. Yeah. It takes a couple of years, especially, and a lot of it depends on whether you're in kind of a wetland complex area.
Sure, or if you have access
or
to them.
Yeah, if you're just kind of isolated.
Cool.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't have a great answer to.
It all depends.
Yeah,
we know it all depends.
We're not in like a core complex, but we are certainly have our wetland travel corridors here. It just seems like to me, watching it, totally unscientific, but for the last, at least intensively for say 20 years, there is a certain amount that are just coming, come hell or high water. As long as we have water and food, it doesn't matter how hot it is or anything, they're coming. And sometimes they show up just as early as we have water. And if we don't get a lot of weather, that's pretty much what we're stuck with, give or take some.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot more that are like going to come if they're forced to and aren't if they aren't forced to. And it seems to me, I even remember Dale telling me, he seems to think that that's more of a condition in the Mississippi flyway than any of them.
Interesting.
That, in his opinion, and of course he was a biologist by trade too, that the ducks in the Mississippi flyway just don't, generally speaking, not an absolute here, generally don't, a lot of them don't want to have to go any further south than they're forced to because the kind of foods we have with leftover ag don't weather the winter as well as a lot of native grasses and foods and stuff. And so over time they've learned they're going back through a biological desert if they go real far south. Now that was just his philosophy, I guess, on it.
Interesting.
But it does seem like every year, and of course we're not as cold as we've been, it just seems like we're getting more and more of that. Seems to be the trend. There's some you're going to get, and with the winters, people in the far south, they better be treating with kid gloves and not worried about pound, or you're not going to have them.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, in my humble opinion. Now, maybe we'll have a really cold winter and it'll change back, but the only time we've seen the big numbers here in the last 3 years was that super hard freeze in February.
Yeah.
And I thought we weren't going to have them again, and then we just were covered up for about a week.
So, Ron, these we hear, we all have these conversations when we're in the duck blind and we're not seeing many ducks or whatever. There's a thought that maybe the people north of us, and I'm saying like Tennessee and southern Illinois and Missouri, are now planting so much stuff that these ducks aren't having to move down as far. Is there any credence to that?
Yeah, that's something that we're looking at with research a lot right now. So just kind of anecdotally from our transmitter data, it's amazing how many kind of warm water habitats and dry feeding ducks have anyways up there. So we have so many transmitters that stop on like power plant cooling lakes, even like settling ponds for local sewage treatment plants. So that's something we've definitely talked about, looking at how kind of stopover habitat use on fall migration, how much of that's actually like planted flooded corn like everybody talks about in the South, and how much is other habitat. And they're incredibly adaptable, so they're good at finding food and avoiding risk. So it's kind of like what Toxie's saying, is they can stay north and kind of hold out there and get the food they need and not have to move further south. And I don't know how much of that is actually being influenced by planting versus just food on the landscape.
Do you have an opinion?
I do. I don't think it's influencing duck movements in a serious way. I think disturbance and basically predation risk, hunter risk of harvest mortality in the South is probably a bigger driver of pushing them up there as opposed to stuff holding them there. I think it's hard to argue that we haven't seen some kind of changes in weather patterns and the amount of snow that we're getting at those latitudes.
So we got to step in and say we have one of the foremost turkey biologists, not only of today but of all time, and I won't even have to call his name. People know, but he said the number one influencer, hunting pressure, and then we had deer now recently, and the number one influencer changed to nocturnal to not hunting pressure, and then we have him here today, and he's telling us clearly, and he's obviously spent his life in research, not just, watching things like us, hunting pressure. So everybody needs, sooner or later, you need to listen, and how we approach makes such a big difference in not only our enjoyment of the resource, but the perpetuation that we love and conservation
100%.
of the resource.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to that, being the ecologist that you are, do you have an opinion on how a guy should approach hunting? Should a property only be allowed to be hunted once or twice a week, or you have ideas there?
Yeah, we're looking at a lot of that with research. So we've got research going on in White River, looking at sanctuary use by one of our graduate students, and we're kind of looking at that in the private realm as well. And I mean, ideally, if you have a big enough property, you just leave a part of that property alone and just leave that as called inviolate sanctuary. You don't go in there, you never disturb them, you don't drive past them, you just leave them there. If you don't have that, having kind of temporal sanctuary, so only hunting like say 2 or 3 days out of the week is good. But really, ideally, kind of the rule is you leave 80% and you hunt 20. In my opinion, would be the best. I know that's not possible for
Wow,
most people.
I love hearing that though, because
Yeah.
that's when
That's what we need to talk about.
my love is having them over shooting them, and so
Yes, sir.
and if you don't have them, you can't shoot them. So that makes a lot of sense, because more and more we're trying to develop small holes, so you don't have to have a lot of ducks.
Right.
Have a super quality hunt. You don't have to shoot over thousands of them, and so that makes a ton of sense. So the bigger places become obviously the sanctuaries. Kind of got a couple of them now. We don't want to.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the ways people have asked, how do you have duck hunting where you are? Not even, well, that's probably a big part of it. Y'all have witnessed it.
No, your pressure management. You've always been about pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure management's huge.
Huge.
Not only hunting, but just disturbance. One of the issues people have, they want to go ride and look at them. So they go get in the truck, go ride, and go, hey, let's go look at the ducks.
Go
You
get
run
the ducks up.
Yeah, that's man. Leave them
Count
on.
Well, these new cell cams, like a Spartan Go Live,
yeah.
you could put it on a
Oh,
place and be able to click and
More
look
and more
and see.
folks are using that technology for waterfowl as folks done for deer for a long time.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not so sure that Spartan Go Live might not be, other than surveillance of your property from someone breaking in, like putting them on duck holes might be the number one most useful thing.
Yeah.
Because you're right.
On the live
it's
feed,
like,
for sure.
y'all know how adamant and how good Neil is at the duck thing, and, scouting and picking the right spot. And when Max run with him, he knows too. But I was like, I always asked, did you get them up? I said, well, yeah, I had to, because there's corn there or tall grass, or I wouldn't have known how many were there without getting them up. I said, man, don't get them up. We get back and forth and out all the time, and he does know it's best not to get them up. So that camera would be so nice. That's exactly what I'm going to use the one I've got for, and hopefully get a couple more to do it with.
Yeah. So, Dudley, I want to get to you next, but before, I want to stay on this theme real quick. Jim, I'm looking at you. The state of Arkansas, so once that season comes in, and I'm thinking about public land hunt. Can they hunt every day?
Yes.
On like a biometer or something?
Yes.
Would the public, do you think, if research from what like Ryan's doing down the road, if it said, hey, we just need to hunt this 3 days a week, do you think the people would they respond to that? And
We have areas like that now on White River Refuge. There's parts of White River Refuge you can only hunt certain days per week. All of our public areas pretty much shut off at noon. You got to be out of there by 12 o'clock. On the state areas, they've got it to where non-residents can only hunt 3 different 10-day periods. So they're trying to reduce pressure that way. I don't know that you'll ever get that through in the state of Arkansas on a WMA or on a GTR where you can only hunt 3 days per week, general public, but there will be areas that they'll have it limited to that to keep pressure down. And you can see where pressure is limited, duck use is up heavily.
I
Sure,
would,
direct
I,
correlation.
I would love to have some brave state somewhere or federal government even do it and take an area and say, maybe they don't limit it to 3 days a week, but maybe it's 3 days a week. I don't care, but say, and you said, you made me think about it when you said not after lunch. It's like nobody can put a boat in or go hunting until 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd love to see how that affected the continued use, because my own philosophy, again, unscientific, is what I've seen is like, if you go and you're there before daylight and the first thing that shows up and you're pounding them, and you gotta have that limit, so we just stay on and on and on into the morning. You've moved it. They're going somewhere else. They got to eat, especially if it's really cold. They got to go eat something, and they're gone. You've moved them. If you go in, and so like our stuff where we have stuff planted and they're feeding, you go in at like 8 o'clock or maybe. Well, they've already had a chance to feed there, and they're a lot less bothered by you riding up, on your ATV and throwing your decoys out and stuff than they are you pounding shooting at them. Plus, your first couple of shots in the morning isn't over every duck coming there. So I don't know. I would just curious. I'd love to see someone do a specific research project just to ban the daylight hunting. And I know I love that first crack of daylight. Everybody that duck hunts loves it.
Oh, yeah.
Be interesting to see.
Like 8 to 12. You can only shoot from 8 to 9.
Yeah, something like that. Or maybe 8 to 2. Let them stay longer, but eliminate that first daylight. Because I feel like what we're doing it here is we're just more and more and more. We're training them to be nocturnal. And that's just my own judgment.
Training is the key word there. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what would happen if you didn't start until 8
Well,
o'clock.
every person we have on that has that scientific lifestyle research background, it comes out saying the same thing, and it's like the laws of the universe, not just our Earth here. Nature adapts. No matter what, nature is going to always adapt. That's just the way this whole world's created. So you got to use that in your tool, your box of tools for managing wildlife, and understand in every single case, nature will adapt. And what does that mean? 1,000 different things depending on what you're doing in the species.
Well, one thing I think what you're saying there, we talked about on the way over here, evolution is ongoing. It doesn't quit. Mother Nature's always, as we get better, she gets better, So you always got to keep that in mind moving forward, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why I ever thought that didn't apply to hunting and wildlife, I don't know. Yeah. That was just, but everybody should wake up and realize nature adapts, and that should be a buzzword in your mind when you're planning the hunting or, working on your place, and it's going to happen. And everything we talked about today says that, screams it, actually.
Dudley, you got a question?
Well, I'm looking at some of these questions from our listeners, and wanted to get that rolling, possibly. So I've got one from Breck Cherry, and he said, I'd like to hear a breakdown of how night migration works. How do waterfowl navigate at night?
Great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. Something a few people have looked at. I haven't looked at closely, so I'm definitely not the expert on this. But there's definitely the ability to migrate at night, and there's some theories about why they're doing that, whether it's to avoid avian predators like peregrines. There's trade-offs, obviously. You're able to find food during migration if you're migrating during the day and stop over and things like that. I think with ducks specifically, their ability to kind of sense where they are and use landmarks, and you think about, even waterways are pretty obvious, especially at night if there's any moonlight, that they can still kind of navigate with those and use some of those landscape kind of points to base that migration on, and then find suitable habitat where, they're really looking for water, and that has some sort of reflectance that they're able to pick up and make it in. But yeah, it's incredible ability to do so.
It's amazing how that works.
Along those same lines, so if a duck was at the border of America and Canada and picked up and started flying south, is there some data that shows, do they prefer to fly at night, and then how far would they, in a day's time, would they travel?
Yeah, we kind of everywhere between stopping every 50 miles to being able to make that whole jump from Canada, North Dakota, all the way to Arkansas.
Wow.
I've worked a lot more with specklebellies and Canada geese in Illinois, and even their ability, so jumping from the Arctic down to prairies in Canada, and then all of our speckled bellies flew straight from Prairie Canada to the Arkansas Delta down into Louisiana, or even I was talking with somebody earlier, I guess Rob, about the speckled bellies hitting Mississippi and Alabama. It's like they get caught in the jet stream and get dumped out over here and then make their way back to the Delta the next day. So really,
yeah, because
really
our
cool.
prevailing jet streams are going to be west to east, but then that's also kind of northwest to southeast, and sometimes dead out of the north on behind these fronts. So rarely do we get one going back to the west. But so makes sense when they get in a jet stream. I mean, it won't take a couple of hours.
Yeah.
I mean, you got 100 and something mile back, at their back. It's just like flying in an airplane. Or faster.
So they're covering some ground then.
Yeah,
Didn't y'all have a pintail with a transmitter a couple years ago that went from like somewhere way up northern Saskatchewan to Benson Lake, like in a 36-hour period or something like that?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, it can be a matter of days. I mean, their ability, especially with those winds at altitude.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just so efficient flyers.
I wonder how high can that's a good question. How high can they get?
Yeah.
And still, because obviously at a certain height
Had
we
to put on
can't
a
breathe.
gas mask,
Yeah. Our transmitters give us altimeter readings, and they're not super accurate. They're based on that GPS connection.
Right.
But that's something I need to look at with our mallards. I know with Canada geese, we had a few that I think were migrating like 1,000 feet.
Oh, that's nothing.
During-
I've known they
during
go
molt
higher than
migration.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not
They gotta
much.
be
But
higher.
yeah, I don't know about these mallards. I bet you it's high.
Wow.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. You got another one, Dad?
Well,
Mac, have you got one?
I do. So we think about turkeys. We think about how well that they can see. How well can ducks see, and kind of how does their eyesight work as far as like on a scientific level? I mean, I know ducks can see, and I mean, we kick a lot of water so they can see that, but the reflections and things like that. But like, can you compare a duck's eyesight to? I guess.
Yeah, they just see way beyond the same color spectrum we do. So they're seeing into that UV spectrum. And there's some really neat research out of songbirds and stuff that's looked at that. There's a lot less with ducks, but we kind of assume that most birds are pretty similar. But their ability to pick out UV reflection and just reflection in general. We were talking about materials on the way over here, and how different materials have different UV reflectance, and I mean into that light spectrum that we just can't sense. And they definitely have a way. I take a lot of pictures, and I was all excited. Got a new ghillie blanket that had kind of some artificial fiber, and had a good cypress break that I was getting set up that had a bunch of mallards, and I laid down, kind of snuggled down in between some cypress knees, and the first pair came in, and it was like they saw a ghost. And I mean, to me, this ghillie blanket looked incredible, but there was some reflectance from that I mean, they picked that out immediately, even though I was tucked back into some really dark.
that's
good
really
area.
interesting.
That
I
is.
know there was a lot of research with deer where
Yes.
folks were, wash your clothing in this. Is that a similar UV type thing?
Yeah, I think so, and I don't think we've really explored it that well, but
I personally believe it, because you can when you're in your clothing, especially today with all the synthetic great fibers.
Right.
People, honestly, if you're, and Jim may have noticed this too, if you're sitting in the woods right at daylight, you can see if your clothing is. It's just there's something about that first period of light where you can see light just jumping off of it almost, and it's
Except for cotton.
yeah. We used to test it with black light, because that's UV reflectance. I guess
It
is,
is,
for lack of
it
a
is
better word.
absolutely no doubt.
I have no doubt about it. That especially, I'm thinking about turkeys.
Yeah, turkeys, ducks, deer,
and so
critters in general.
we at the time, by far and away the best material for camouflage clothing was all cotton, and the stuff that had synthetic fibers in it reflected a lot more UV light. And so I know there's been some universities do some pretty extensive research, but also had heard they kind of tabled it to not try to draw any undue, bad conclusions about certain, clothing companies and stuff. But honestly, the truth is the truth. I'd love to know what that truth is. I'd love for us to be able to make a better product if that's necessary using something. But
well, it would behoove all of us on this side of the fence, no doubt.
it makes so much sense. I mean, how can my dogs we're at home, and it's black dark, no moon or anything, and they bark and realize that, there's a deer 200 yards. They could see it in the black dark out the window. I mean, they have to be able to see a different part of the light spectrum. So, I mean, we've pretty much proven that.
Yeah.
Well, talking about dogs,
sure.
Here's another one. You take a dog with some hunting experience, retriever, duck hunting experience, and you cripple a mallard drake in 12 dozen mallard decoys, and they can pick out that cripple amongst all them decoys. Instantly. So you can't tell me they can't see in a little different spectrum than what we do. We may go, man, that's a cool looking decoy. That's a really cool looking camouflage. Look how it blends with this or that. Well, them critters are seeing it way different than we are. I think that's important.
Yeah, and probably, I hadn't thought about that, because one of the things I talk about all the time is in the first hour or so, it's almost impossible to hide from them, no matter what we're in.
How many times have
And I'm
turkeys
not
fly
so
down
sure
and peek out?
that it's the difference in the decoys and the UV, for lack of a better word, reflectance would be so much more dramatic in the wee hours. And then once you get a full bright sunlight, it kind of goes away, and I don't have those issues anymore. And I've never understood why, because we'd be in blinds that are hidden so good, and honestly, there's more bright light for us to show up in the middle of the day. And I realize there's a little shadow cast and all that, but it's unbelievable how spooky they are in the dim light early on. And maybe that's it. Maybe the difference in the decoys not looking real is more dramatic in the dim light. I don't know. That's something, that'd be a great topic for research too. But, I remember still the father of all this camouflage, my buddy Jim Crumley, they used to ask him about it all the time. He said, well, until we get deer to talk, we'll never know for sure.
That's a dang good point.
Yeah.
But I bet you today's technology could figure out what's going on with the duck and the deer and the turkey. And I bet you it's very, very similar.
I bet you it is.
Dudley, what, you got one ready?
All right, so we're kind of shifting here. Jay Ballard 16 wants to know, how do you view the don't shoot hens opinion?
Yeah, this is something we even talked about before we started recording. This is a tough one, and it kind of goes into whether harvest is additive versus compensatory. So basically, whether harvest is actually decreasing the population, or if that harvest is being compensated for by increased production. So for it to be compensatory, you have to have density dependence, which basically just means there's limited resources, and those resources are limiting the number of ducks. So that's really what's constraining the population instead. For the most part, we think that harvest on ducks is compensatory. So it's usually compensated for by basically having more ponds for those ducks that do survive, and where we know we're shooting ducks that are less healthy and probably less likely to go back and breed anyways. So it's decreasing the number of ducks out there and allowing those surviving ducks to go nest. In these dry years, like we've seen the last couple of years at least, that might differ. I'm not deep enough into that side of things to really have a strong opinion. I mean, I love to shoot drakes. I think it's kind of a challenge for me to pick out drakes, and when things are going really well, I'd prefer to only shoot drakes.
Yeah.
But if you're having a rough hunt, it's not the end of the world, I don't think, if you shoot a hen. And especially on these boom years, when we do get wet years, it's harvest probably isn't going to make any difference on the population. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Jim, go ahead.
I've got another angle there.
Okay.
Shoot them and get out of there and leave them alone. Disturbance, pressure management. If you got opportunity, if you need 2 ducks to finish the limit and 2 mallard hens, shoot them and get out of there and let the ducks have it back. It's kind of my theory. But I'm looking at it more from a pressure management, managing hunting property or something like that. So go on and get them and get out. Stay within the limits. Don't go crazy. But I would say go on, shoot them and get out of there.
Yeah, and that's looking through some of these questions. There's a lot on kind of shifting. If there's northward shift, if ducks are short stopping. I think a lot of what we're seeing and what we need to think a lot more about is how pressure is influencing duck movements and
recruitment
and distribution. Yes. And basically where they're going on the landscape. And I think that has a huge impact, absence of kind of that mortality of the effect on population and hunter success. So it's like Illinois, central Illinois. I mean, there are areas that we were reporting aerial survey numbers with Forbes Biological Station, and we'd have people, I mean, just cussing us saying we're making these numbers up. And it's because they're hunting these public areas, really heavily hunted. They wouldn't see a duck all morning, even though there's 30,000 just sitting a mile and a half from them that only come out to feed at sunset, that they're just never there in the afternoon to see them. And it's pressure and how that's kind of changed how smart ducks are. I'm not sure I'd call it evolving, but it's influencing their behaviors to major pan, and it's influencing hunter success and how hunters are perceiving duck populations.
Nature adapts every time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Lanny, you've got a question?
Oh, yeah. I always have a question about ducks. I think we've touched a little bit on time frame to migrate. We've talked a little bit about pressure, and then we talked about the northern crops. So what I'm hearing from you, and we say this a lot of times here, we're like, oh, they pressured them too hard up north before they got there. Is that a possibility?
I'd say it's a possibility. So one of the most interesting points I've heard is that we know that younger birds are spreading out across the landscape more. So that's where we think that possibly increased harvest, especially of especially juvenile females up north, maybe with spring-wing decoys. We know they're more susceptible. We think that could be where we're seeing a kind of decrease in mallard harvest, especially in Louisiana. That's been thrown around. I don't know if there's validity to that. I don't know how you test that. But no, I think it's a possibility that, the amount of hunting up north could influence, less so the population, but the distribution.
We certainly,
Yes.
the very first week or so of our season, hunt a different duck than what we
No
hunt.
doubt.
Starting at, say, Christmas and on.
Yeah.
No question. They're so much spookier. And, I don't know if that's because surely the more hunting pressure they've had that year in older ducks,
Yes, sir.
it has to make a difference.
Yeah. We sure blame it on them.
Yeah.
So as a researcher, is there something that you've learned about ducks that surprised you?
Ooh. There are lots of things, and I go back to geese. I'll try to focus on ducks. The home range. I mean, how little some of these ducks will move is incredible. And again, it's going back to adapting. So to where we have this really heavily pressured landscape in southeast Arkansas, the Stuttgart area, around Five Oaks. There's pressure all over the place, and some of those ducks, I mean, they're not moving more than 2 miles from their roosting site almost the entire winter. I mean, they're moving so little. They're finding food sources where they know they're safe, and they're just going back and forth to that till they run out of food, basically. So that's been really, really fascinating to me. The relationship with bombland hardwoods, I think, is really interesting, and that's something I'm looking at. So we're trying to figure out, really use ducks, these transmitters, to inform management of bombland hardwoods. So figure out what forest characteristics, things like stem density, these thickets, and even tying in some behavioral data. So we have accelerometers in these transmitters that I brought, and we can infer behaviors from that. So we can look at how that transmitter is moving in 3 axes, and we can go back and kind of separate those out and figure out what movements relate to what behaviors. So whether they're, say, feeding, whether they're flying, whether they're resting. And we're really I'm starting to tease apart how different forest characteristics are related to behaviors.
That's
mallards.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
No doubt.
No, it's really neat stuff, and I'm really fortunate to be down there.
So just
involved in
as an
that.
opinion for now, how important is a flooded timber place to have some cover, like some thick cover, as opposed to all big, beautiful red oaks, raining, lots of food,
Yep. I think it's really important, and that's one of the interesting things we're finding out. So we're right next to Biomeda, so obviously a really heavily pressured, just massive expanse of bombland hardwood. So our ducks, if you look at selection, so basically the proportion of locations in timber compared to what's theoretically available to them, they're actually avoiding timber, but a lot of that's being driven by Biomeda, we think, because of the hunting pressure.
Right.
Yeah. So it's definitely important to have a heterogeneity of habitats, have a diversity, and it's like with pretty much all wildlife management. So yeah, thickets in your big woods, even bunbush sloughs are incredibly important for loafing and roosting. Huge. That's actually one of the areas we're seeing the highest selection for is these reservoirs and stuff around us where they're loafing.
Do you think that it just seems like more and more that I don't know, mallards especially, because we key on them. They just, if they were feeding in open water in places, they get in there, they get full, and they're headed. They want something overhead. Like, is it that they fear the hawks and eagles more and more?
Yeah.
Because they just seem, some ducks can just sit out on wide open spaces all day long. Doesn't seem to bother them. But the mallards especially want to go not just in the timber. I think they like it for the cover.
Yeah.
And so you get a lot of the stuff we have around here, that buckbrush he's talking about, or button brush, or whatever it's called. You know, I can remember by managing with the crop duster, we eliminated, and I think we eliminated too much of it. In some places, but some of the places we have had really, really good hunts. There's no rhyme or reason except it had that overhead cover. They had an open hole to land in, but then immediately they could swim out into stuff with a real dense over canopy.
And I think you're spot on with that avian predator. I think it's the eagles and the hawks.
We have a lot of folks get button bush from us, and they'll strategically plant it.
Wow.
In their, impoundments. But what they're doing is it will take over an impoundment, but they go in and mulch holes out of it, and the ducks like to land in the open and then swim under the.
It'd be easy to control if you can control the water. It'd be pretty easy to go in there and control it. So, I was wondering. I let some, it's a real invasive, but the Sesbania, I guess, gets pretty tall and cover. I wonder if that's enough in some of these wide open spots. I left a couple of places this year where I left, a pretty good size open hole, and I'd leave a couple, like an acre or two per spot that I left it. I just left it.
Yeah. No, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that provides vertical cover. I mean, we know it's not really providing food value, but that vertical cover is crucial. And you think about kind of noise abatement. I mean, planting screens around houses. It's the same thing with ducks, to where if you have that vertical cover and the wind blowing through that, shots are gonna spook them way less. It's gonna stress them out way less if they've got something kind of knocking that noise down a little bit.
That really is interesting. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'd like to get into some food type stuff.
Yes.
A guy named Taylor Bobo said, do ducks actually use the flooded timber for a food source, or is that more to loaf and rest?
Can't wait to hear that.
I'd like to evolve on some of that too.
Yeah, they definitely use it for a food source. Obviously, red oak acorns are big. We're doing a lot of research. So again, with the transmitters, we're looking at forest composition, so red oak composition in those woods to look at where they're using in the woods and if red oaks are more prevalent there or not. We're also using metabarcoding DNA techniques with their poop, essentially from harvested birds, to look at what composition of their diet is red oak acorns, invertebrates, versus moist soil seeds or like agricultural grains.
That's great.
That's going on right now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's processing. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's really neat technology. I'm really excited to see the results. So yeah, it's definitely multiple use. So there's definitely good food sources in there, but that structure is also really important. Like he's asking. I mean, it's really important for loafing and resting and getting away from avian predators.
And there seem to be a lot more avian predators now than ever. I don't know.
Yeah. And I've always been interested in all of that, especially, I'm a tree guy, but the moist soil stuff really interests me. And when I was younger, it seemed like consensus was more broadleaf stuff like smartweeds and things. And then it changed to more, grassy, sedges and grasses as being what everybody wanted to manage for. Is that still what?
I go back to heterogeneity again. A little bit of each is really important, especially, so we focus so much on managing for mallards, but those sedges and some of those smaller seeds, there's really not a lot of species that'll eat even, say, millet. Like pintails, greenwings are really selecting for those really small seeds, like red root flat sedge, panic grass, some of those smaller seeds. So yeah, having that mixture is really important. Of course, mallards love millet. They're kind of generalists, so they do pretty well on.
So we call one springle top.
Yep.
How good is it?
It's pretty. It's good. It doesn't produce as much seed abundance as.
You know,
as
it's
a lot
funny
of
though.
other
There's two types or the soil, but some of them put on a huge head. Some of them are short, and some of them are, whatever, 3-4 feet tall, and put on. And is that just the perfect growing conditions, rich soil, or is there two different types?
It could be, and there's a few other grasses that look. And I'm not great with my moist soil plants. I need to be a lot better, but there are a few others that look pretty similar to Sprangletop.
It seems to be more and more like invasive. Of course, what you want, it's like barnyard grass is the gold standard. And you start looking at all that, and one of the best thing that happen. It's very invasive, and I say bring it on.
Great duck food. Yep. Mallards will love it.
Yep, we have a lot, and that's kind of our fallback position. I'm not so sure we don't get just as much help from all the barnyard grass we raise as all the stuff we plant, but because it is millet. It's basically let's face it, it's wild millet. So.
Yep, right. Yeah, I'm a big proponent for moist soil management. I mean, it provides just incredible diversity of nutritional needs for.
I'd love to have more broadleaves. The Pennsylvania smartweed's about the only really beneficial one I know to kind of let go. But in our world, there's so many invasive, good for nothing broadleaves, and of course, by nature, broadleaf means shades everything out. So we just, in a lot of cases, we have to manage to get rid of them, or we don't have anything. So we don't have the opportunity to really manage towards. There's something about the Pennsylvania smartweed here that comes on strong, really, really late even into the fall.
In the drawdown period, or in the.
No, I mean it barely shows up in like September, late August, and it'll be making flowers like even to on into October, and it seems like stuff has been suppressed, and it just really takes off late in the year. And I'll get a stand of it in like the pond at the cabin. There's probably 3 acres solid of that, and it just kind of took over late in the year. And I don't know why. Maybe some water got on the other. Some water standing will suppress weeds.
Yeah, but
and let other ones
there's
take
some
off.
weeds. Yeah, there's some weeds that can really take advantage of that standing water.
Interesting stuff.
Yes.
And I want to get onto some tree stuff too. But we were talking about red oak acorns, and then I also hear a lot of talk about just the leaves falling out of an oak tree is a good way to hold invertebrates. Whereas, you've got ag fields that are just mud bottoms, but there's stalks that they can hang out on, and it's just so interesting. But it seems like diversity wins
every time.
Yeah. Well, and I think I kind of come from a holistic perspective, thinking about the broad ecosystem, and I think managing for those things helps us. Get cleaner waters. Manage all these ecosystem services on top of helping provide food for ducks. So that leaves and bombland hardwoods, more invertebrates, more aerobic, anaerobic processes that are influencing water quality and all sorts of other things that I think are really meaningful.
That ducks like to eat bugs.
Yeah.
You think about the protein there too. Better feather structure, eggshells going on the flyback for spring nesting. All that comes into play. So, you need a little of all of it.
Yeah, and there's some discussion. We're still figuring out how important invertebrates are. And, again, with this diet study, that's one of the things we're hoping to look at. There's some evidence that it's mixed. Some studies have kind of suggested that invertebrates are super important, that they're already building those proteins, that they're probably really important for building back proteins once they arrive here on migration, because sometimes they're catabolizing protein out of their muscles. So to build that back is important. But then when do they really need that calcium in protein when they start heading back north, and whether it needs to be here or on those stopover areas is a big question.
It's just so interesting how adaptable they are. I grew up on the Mississippi Flyway, and 500 years ago that was nothing but cane brakes and red oaks and sweet gums, and now it's almost nothing but agriculture. And they've completely adapted to that.
Yeah, and that's geese. Geese are incredibly adaptive, and mallards, to a large extent too. They're generalists, and we were having some discussions on the way over here on what historic waterfowl populations looked like, and how this kind of agricultural dominated landscape has changed those population levels. And we know, like with snow geese, that agriculture in the Mississippi alluvial valley and north has just allowed them to explode essentially. And same with specklebellies to some extent, and whether or not that's the case with mallards as well.
So interesting.
So would nocturnal behavior be something that they've adapted to?
It's probably something that's always been there to some degree. Like I think they probably always had the ability to feed nocturnally. One, because avian predators are predominantly diurnal. I mean, great horned owls, barred owls might take ducks, but really eagles and peregrines are what we think the main waterfowl predators are. So that could have, even before kind of modern hunting, could have been influencing that pattern to some extent. But yeah, it just seems to me, even in my short life and the short time I've been on this earth, that it's definitely moving more of that nocturnal pattern than
Lanny.
I know it has for
historically.
me. I mean,
Yeah. Look, I want to just kind of ask this question. It's a little off the wall, but in England, they hunt ducks at night over there. As an ecologist, what's going on? Why are they doing that? And what's the...
Yeah, they definitely have a different take on game management than we do, that I know you guys are familiar with and talk about, to where it is really the resource of the wealthy and nobility.
right.
And yeah, I mean, it's definitely effective. It sounds like you can,
there's
shoot
no
a lot
way
of ducks if you're shooting after dusk. But
I mean, they can't manage they can't be trying to shoot drakes. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why
but it's waterfowl hunting over there is just at such a small scale that it probably isn't having a meaningful impact at the population level compared to the number of hunters we have here.
Well, that's good to know. So I've just always scratched my head at that.
It is interesting.
Yeah,
it is.
So I think we've hit on something here, kind of a chord that makes sense to me. But managing this hunting pressure, however, you guys are trying to learn about it more. Toxie has certainly figured out some things himself. Lanny, we see it from being around him and places. But Jim, you're shaking your head. Obviously, you agree that it's a big part.
It's a huge part. It's a huge part. The deal is, we all like to hunt them. We all like to watch them. We all like to be a part. So you want to go get in the boat and go riding and scouting in the afternoons. And we got some federal areas, big, large tracts of woods. It's federal. It's on refuge property. You can't necessarily hunt waterfowl hunt in the afternoon, but you can bow hunt, you can squirrel hunt, you do whatever. So people want to go get in the boat and go scouting. Well, you're running ducks out of the woods in the afternoon, and then you wonder why the next morning that you're not as productive. And the better we can manage that, the better I think we're going to be with the opportunity to increase harvest and increase hunting pleasure while hunting, and let ducks use those habitats.
Yeah, and we're looking to inform a lot of how we kind of design the timing of hunting in those refuges, the spatial aspect of hunting in those refuges. So Ethan Dittmer with the Osborne Lab at UAM has been working on White River, and what he's finding is that ducks are actually using the spatial sanctuary, so the areas that they can only hunt in the morning, the same as just a regular like free-for-all hunted area, to where really that spatial sanctuary, that no afternoon hunting really doesn't seem to be making a difference. They're still avoiding that the same as pretty much all the hunted areas.
Wow.
So thinking about if we need to time that, like we talked about earlier, just 2 days a week, and then just leave whole days or whole blocks that they aren't allowed to hunt, or if that morning hunting is meaningful, and I mean, we can increase hunter effort and access if we allow them to hunt in the afternoons. I mean, how many people can't wake up at 2 a.m. to go to a public boat launch and hunt in the morning, but could go hunt in the afternoon?
I would think there are a number of private places in Arkansas that probably really manage their hunting pressure that you guys could learn from if there was a way to.
Several, we're both around a lot, have no hunting past 10 o'clock. Some are past 9 o'clock. If you don't have them by 9, you're out. Let the ducks have them the rest of the day.
So, Toxie, when I first moved here a long time ago, there were these older men, Clark Young being one of them.
Big duck.
And they typically would not go hunting. They would hunt almost every day, but they wouldn't go till about 8 o'clock in the morning.
7, 8 o'clock, yeah. Yep.
And so, but I also remember Carsey telling me, well, Dad likes to go and see where the ducks want to be.
Well, he would go. I didn't go with him just a whole lot, but I'd get to go sometimes, and he would pull up their main place they had. There was a big hill you could sit there and watch, and he'd sit there and watch for a while, and then he had a Argo, and he'd go right to where most ducks were. And honestly, at the time, there's no way you could do it today. He would take bundles of cane, just bright green, doesn't even blend in with where it was, and just literally just kind of space it around there, and you shoot ducks out of the Argo in the wide open. We couldn't anymore do that today than man in the moon. But back then, we did. But he would go where they were, and his thing was just like wait and see where they're using, because he thought, and I think he's probably right. Jim probably agreed to that too. There's some reason they pick certain spots, and then that's their spot for the day, and then it might not be, a couple days from now. So that was what he was thinking. And I think part of it was, I never really asked him, was like, let them eat a little bit first, just like I've been saying.
Yeah.
So he didn't go at daylight that often.
That's an interesting thought. The way you had that on the early morning. So, Dudley, what?
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah, I like my sleep, so I could get on board with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
You got another question, Dud?
Let's see. Thomas Rexler wanted to know if you'd rather hunt the thaw after a few days of hard freeze or the day of an incoming hunt. When is that normally? Normally better?
I want to pick both.
Yeah.
It's always good on the front side when they go to hit the feed heavy. After a thaw, you go hunt a food source. If it starts to thaw, find a food source, and that's some of the best there is. Right when it starts thawing out. I was hunting a break one year, and we'd had a hard freeze, and it was old dead, and man, piles and piles of ducks crossing us, and we was blowing our heads off, and they wouldn't even look at you. They was going to a rice field right next to us, and we slid over there and shot them up. Either one can be great. It's fun to be on both sides of that, and that's why I say both. I'm not going to pick one over the other, but I want to be there for both.
Gotcha.
Mac, you got a question?
I do. I've got a few, but there's two that I really have been curious about. So we've talked about habitat and huntability and kind of the duck in general, but what species of ducks are growing? Is mallards growing, pintails, wood ducks, or fallen, or kind of how is that population change right now?
Yeah, well, right now we're kind of seeing a lot of falling just because of the water conditions up in the prairies and the nesting grounds. Blue-winged teal, I think we've seen a rapid response, so they're more. This is going back to college biology. Are selected, so basically they're having more young and they're shorter lived, so they're able to kind of recover more quickly than some of these slightly longer lived ducks like mallards or pintails. So blue wings obviously did well this year, and as really with all of them, it's so dependent on habitat on the nesting grounds, to where if we just have 2 or 3 good years of good habitat up there, those populations are going to be moving in the right direction really quick. Yeah, wood ducks are a tough one. They're declining in some areas. We think some of that's kind of due to brood-rearing habitat, not just nesting habitat. So we know a lot of these areas have good natural cavities, places for them to nest, but then they're really not dependent, but they do well in emergent marsh habitats, which we're losing, especially in the upper Mississippi River Valley and Illinois River Valley, to where we think that could be influencing some decline in wood ducks, but I'm not sure. I certainly don't have data to support that, but that's just kind of been the trend I've been seeing and feeling.
Ron, it's obvious you hunt, and you're a fantastic photographer. We saw some stuff on Askren.com. It's
amazing.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Photography. But if you were somebody said, okay, you're in charge of all these ducks. If somebody said that, is there things that you say, okay, this is what I would do? 1, 2, 3. These are changes that I would make. And I'm just asking your opinion.
Yeah, so in the wintering grounds, I mean, one of the biggest things is fixing hydrology. We've seen just huge issues from these major river systems flooding from all this leveeing and draining of these major river systems have just forced the rivers into a smaller area that are leading to all these flood issues, and that's been really detrimental to waterfowl habitat, kind of this latitude up through the Midwest. So that's a big thing. If I could fix one thing, I think hydrology would be a big part, and that, of course, is leading to red oak decline in Arkansas, and where we're seeing these shifts of historically red oak areas into overcup, and more water tolerant white oak species that aren't food for ducks, that aren't really benefiting ducks. Fixing hydrology would be one of the biggest ones, both at regional and fine scale.
That sounds like a big ask.
Yeah, that's if I had a genie, that is what one of my wishes.
And then that's not going to happen. So how can we compensate as gamekeepers, as people who care for enormously for the future of our ducks? How can we adapt that? Because that goes back to what I love so much is our mission here. Our evangelism is like the way we can make the most effective change is not by like lobbying our governments or maybe donating to the big wildlife organizations. That's all important, but every single person and everybody we were listening right has some kind of influence, or they do the work on some place, and we have the power to do that as a group when we can do positive stuff for wildlife. And so my point in saying this, and I will just till I'm blue in the face or y'all bury me someday, is like empower every single person to become that gamekeeper and become conservation conscious in their own place, and together everybody that hunts can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
More so than any other entity.
Yep.
Even if all you have is your backyard.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And so, and just having the knowledge and spreading it and, getting it out to people and doing, take care of your own spot. And I know waterfowl especially is important because we have to depend on our neighbors so much.
Yeah, and we have to manage in complexes, so we have to have landowners that are willing to really care about the resource and not just about shooting that resource for a short time to really make a difference on the landscape. But no, that's absolutely right.
I mean, I've got great confidence that there's so many people that want to do right, but they just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Even I want to know more and more all the time.
Never ends.
I'd throw another caveat out there. Besides, do all you can with the habitat you work on, and like you said, you mentioned you can donate to the wildlife organization.
Absolutely.
But go buy you an extra federal duck stamp, and that'll go directly to waterfowl conservation.
Great.
One of the first TV shows hunting the country in the early '90s, and Paul Newsom was our host, and I think it might have been the very first show. But he was opening the show, and he was addressing anti-hunters and animal lovers. He said, if you love animals, you're an animal lover. He said, and you want to give money to be sure the highest percentage of your money goes directly to an animal, to help an animal. The top place you can donate to is go to whatever state you're in and buy a hunting license.
Yep.
And that shocked a lot of people. Oh, it isn't. It's giving it to PETA. It's giving it to this. It's giving to that. It's giving to a conservation organization. Not shorting any of those. Even the animal rights. That's what people love. That's fine. I don't have a problem. But the truth is the truth. And buying a hunting license will do more for wildlife than anything you can do.
Yep.
Yeah, well said. Mac, you look like you had another question.
I do. I have one for both of y'all, and I want to get both of your answers, I guess. With a gamekeeper mindset, when would be the best time to put water on a hole? Also, when would be the best time to drain that same hole?
That'll all depend on what it is.
Yeah.
That depends on the kind of habitat. If you're talking, bottomland hardwood, wait as long as you can. Make sure the tree's dormant before you put water on it, and then get the water off. Late winter, early spring. If it's a hot food crop, depending on the time of year, you got to think about how long that grain will last underwater or being flooded. So you got to weigh in a lot of things there. But with us now at home, there's folks starting to get some water on the landscape. There's always an opportunity for some early water. You hope for a little rain, but I'd say at our latitude, right now is a fair time to start getting some water on some fields, catching some of the early migrants, and then in the woods, I'd say you're okay starting to get a little water now. We've had 3 good hard frosts in a row, but I'm not completely believing that these trees are all dormant. My trees are still dropping sap pretty good. They're still green. I think they're still sucking a little water, but I'll let our certified smart person take it.
No. Yeah, it depends. It's very dependent. So like Jim said, these trees are not dormant, so putting water on now is adding some sort of stress. Whether that's got lasting impacts is I think a fair question. But in terms of gamekeeper and thinking about multiple populations, getting early water on is especially important on fields and moist soil. For all these early migrants, blue-winged teal, shorebirds. I'm a big birder, so I love all taxa of birds. But providing habitat for those migrants is really lacking, especially across the South, because it's a dry time of year, and it's amazing how just a little bit of water on a rice field just flashing across can provide just incredible shorebird and early migrant blue-winged teal and pintail habitat. And it's cool to see the response when people are doing that.
So, I mean, like, if you've only got one little spot, I'll add to it, maybe get to know your neighbors better. You could go on a cycle where one of you keeps the water on longer one year and the other neighbor takes it off sooner. And
I speak to that. If I had one spot and that was it, I wouldn't be putting water on it right now, because it'll be gone by the time the hunting gets really good, or it will be not nearly as bad. From my own experience, they seem to like the freshly flooded food the very, very best.
Oh, yeah.
Before it even gets kind of like, it almost reminds me of pouring something on your, cornflakes, and they're a lot better when you eat them in the first few minutes than when they get soggy or something.
I like that.
And so if I could, we don't have the wherewithal. We have a lot of spots, but we don't have the wherewithal to really, really control it. I would want freshly flooded stuff around Christmas. I'd even save a few places for after the first, because we go to the 31st of January. And the other thing for us is a big, weakness. It's almost all in a major floodplain. So if we get one of those, I can think of twice we went somewhere for Christmas a couple of days and had such a flood it covered up everything, and we lose a lot of that native seed and millets.
Yeah.
There's a lot of flow in the ponds when that happens, and so my only point saying that, I would be, if you have multiple spots, I'd be saving some.
Yeah. Save some, and also too, think about how Mother Nature did it before. We had levees on the landscape, and we're artificially holding water, artificially flooding for duck use or waterfowl use. Think of that. Think of a river flow, and you get a little rise and that feathered edge of fresh food. So you always try to emulate that through the year. So if you got a big tract of woods, start maybe here. Try to emulate how Mother Nature flooded it. Will go a long way. Even with crop ground or moist soil, if you can adjust that water level to you always got something fresh and something new for them to feed on, you'll be way better off.
When we get a big water like that, it's really hard to hunt them for us.
Yeah, you get too much water.
Yeah, we go from having a few impoundments here up and down the main creeks and stuff to being like a couple 100,000 acre reservoir, because that whole bottom will flood from here to Tupelo and up north of Houston and all through there. But there'll always be where we can find somewhere it freshly flooded in the shallowest water. That's where they'll be every time.
Keep in mind that most puddle duck species feed, or most surface feeding birds feeding 6 inches of water or less. So that's what they like to use, whether they're eating seeds, grain, or bugs.
There's so many different scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what makes it fun.
You have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
So.
Dudley, is any more of these questions bubbled up as something we need to ask?
Let's see. Do moon phases affect waterfowl behavior?
Great question.
Taylor Bobo again.
Yeah, that is a great question. That's something we're looking at. So we have a few different students. We're looking at moon illumination, not just what moon illumination is at that time, but actually how many hours that moon's up at night. There's definitely a relationship there. Seems like there's a lot more evening post-dusk feeding at those greater moon illumination. So it's not really influencing the morning, at least based on our transmitter data, but after sunset is really where they're able to keep moving around the landscape longer and feeding and escaping predation risk.
Gotta have influence. Just does.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've got a question. You brought one of these GPS transmitters. It's laying here on the table. It's not very big. It weighs hardly anything.
Yeah.
So if a hunter harvests a bird that's got one of these, you want them to report that. That's not. Please, guys, let somebody know. Don't. That's the only way they can learn something, right?
Yep. Yeah. So with these, we're gonna know if you shot one. I mean, I can track you to your house if you shot one and it's still working.
And that's happening.
Is there a good story?
And I've done that.
I'd love to hear that. Like somebody shot a duck out of season
It's gonna blow.
and realized it had a transmitter on it, and
Yeah, I have two stories. So one was a Canada Goose transmitter that I worked up around Chicago, looking at a bunch of different questions with the University of Illinois. But we had a transmitter that molt migrated up to Hudson Bay, coming back, got shot in Wisconsin. I'm guessing got shot off the road because all the locations were right around a county road, and then it was in somebody's house. Didn't hear anything. Band wasn't reported. We had our phone number on the transmitter. Didn't get a call. I was able to get on, I guess I shouldn't say the server or the app because I don't know who you guys have partnerships with, but I got on an app, figured out who the landowner was able to track down, figure out that the lady had a son who was in like high school, and I was actually able to get his cell phone number, and I just cold called him, and he was spooked. I mean, he definitely was a little weirded out, and justifiably so. But it had been like 3 weeks since he shot it, and I got the transmitter back. So that was a good recovery. And then we've had a white-fronted goose that USGS put a transmitter on that they gave me the data to up in Alaska, and I got a call from a buddy who had a buddy who allegedly shot it off the highway with a rifle, seeing the red neck collar that the transmitter was attached to.
Gosh.
Acted like he was changing his tire, ran out, grabbed it, realized it had a transmitter, so he just bashed it with a hammer, and I guess still took it home, but we never got that transmitter back, and stuff like that.
Oh my
Gets a little frustrating.
So sad.
don't be a you-know-what.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
turn them in.
Yep.
Which one of these transmitters cost?
They're about $1,100.
Wow.
We could probably put one of those on Clay Davis's truck so we'd know where he's going.
Could we do that to auction? We would like
You'd
to
never
know.
keep up
It'd
with it.
blow up.
Yeah, he'd rewire it.
So you got people donate money to y'all's organization, the University of Arkansas, Monticello. Y'all are able to buy these, and by having these, you're able to study the migration habits and know what's going on. So how could we help get more of these in y'all's hands?
Yeah. So the Five Oaks Ag Research and Education Center is a 503c not-for-profit, so we're able to essentially get donations for these different projects, and we've got a lot of great funding partners and have worked with like Fish and Wildlife Service and a lot of kind of the traditional funding routes, as well as getting some private and industry sponsorship on some of these.
Sounds like we
research
need
programs.
to get some competition between the companies that make these.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that. What a great gift to conservation if they would actually. I know they're in business to, feed their families and make a living, but man.
Yeah. These ones are actually they're made in Lithuania, which when you tell the university that you want to send a check to Lithuania, they get a little freaked out. But they're incredible. We've had great luck with them. Transmitter technology is continuing to evolve and get better. And
It literally
getting smaller
hardly
and smaller.
weighs anything.
No,
So
it
you
has
can
to.
strap
Yeah.
that. There's some kind of way you bind that to the bird's back.
Yep. So we're just using basically elastic ribbon to go around the front of the wings and then one behind the wings. And I think transmitter attachment definitely could get better, but that's the best we have right now. And we have a few birds. We just had one that was deployed in 2019 get shot in, I think, North Dakota. So some of them are lasting quite a while. And in theory, so they have a solar panel on them with internal batteries. So in theory, that transmitter is going to work as long as that bird's alive.
Wow.
So they can last a while. With Canada geese, I have a transmitter on a Canada goose right now that's going on 8 years.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
The science that is going on. I mean, there's a number of schools, Ryan. We Mississippi State's right here. We've talked to
Brian
from
Davis is
Tennessee.
awesome.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we talked to a lot of different university professors, and the research that's going on is just fascinating.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's just I would think that with technology improving like it is, it's just gonna get that much better.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's I'm just trying to keep up with everybody else. There's lots of
So can
people
you
that are a
see
lot
these?
smarter than me.
Jimbo, you've forgotten more than I'll ever know about any of this. But can you see these when you're looking and ducks are pitching in? Can you tell they've got a transmitter on them?
I can't. I mean, if you're there when we put them on and you turn them loose, you see them for a little bit. But once they get used to them, it's hard to see them till you get
So I'm
them
just
in
saying,
hand.
if
you're hunting
you
a
could
bunch comes in.
tell that they're there, would you rather people not shoot the duck?
Yeah, ideally they're giving us much better data when they're alive
Right.
than when
Yep.
they're dead. But it's so hard to. You're probably gonna see the leg band before you see the transmitter. We've even gotten pictures. The birds will actually preen in this entire transmitter, so the only thing you can even see in hand is the little solar panel sticking out.
It's
The
pretty-
biggest thing is
Yeah.
please turn them in.
Yep. Please
Yes.
turn in transmitters. We'll send you a replica. Please always report your bands.
Yes.
That's incredibly important data that we're working with a lot too.
Now, if you see one coming in with a piece of rice straw hanging off its leg, it's probably banded and it may have one of them on it.
Yeah, I guess it's been
Watch out now.
5 or 6 years, and there was this. Someone thought it was wounded, but it kept coming by. And turned out we could tell, and that's not the easiest thing to determine. It was a hen canvasback, and someone's like, it was wounded, the legs just sticking out behind it, whatever. And then there's several different hunts. We saw this duck, but it was a canvasback. We couldn't shoot him. Thank goodness we realized what it was, but it turned out it was an antenna sticking out.
Oh wow.
Ah,
So it had to be something along these
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah, so with diving ducks, these don't work as well just because they have to dive and it's
Right.
creating more resistance. So a lot of time with diving ducks, they'll actually implant the transmitter.
Yeah, so it was like
abdominally.
a little antenna thing sticking
Yeah,
out.
sticking out of its
You
back.
could see it, yeah.
She may have been spying on you,
Might
Toxie.
have been. I still remember, but it looked like when they fly by, it was like a wounded duck that can't hold its legs up under and it's just kind of sticking out behind them. But
Yeah, there's some funny stories, especially around like Iran and Egypt, where researchers are putting transmitters on things, and then the foreign government's capturing them and claiming it's the other government spying on them. And there could be some truth to
Yeah.
it, but I know a lot of good researchers have
So
run into some of those questions.
when you put that on a duck and you pitch it in the air, does it react? Does it act like, oh my gosh,
There's
I
something
got
on my back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes they fly great. Sometimes they really have to get it preened in before they're feeling comfortable enough to really move around.
So the reason I ask is when we first started the Hunting the Country television show, I went to North Dakota and filmed with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service banding some ducks, and it was a late summer, and they had fed them, and these ducks would make this huge push up to this bait. And the ducks in the front didn't want to go up there because they knew something was fixing to happen. But the ducks in the back were pushing, and it was just the most fascinating thing. But at the end of the day, when you would hold up a duck and put a band on their leg, they would drop that leg like you had put an anvil.
Yeah.
And you know that a band weighs nothing.
Yeah.
But you would throw them in the air, and they'd fly off, and that leg would be hanging down.
Yeah. It freaks them out for sure at the start, and there's all sorts of other, getting a rocket net shot over you wouldn't be a real pleasant experience in the first place.
I mean, my wedding band took a while to get used to.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
But yeah, they definitely notice it, but they adapt pretty quick.
So what questions are we not asking? What's something interesting that you need to tell us that we're not asking about in terms of migration or red oaks or?
Any new studies or?
Yeah, game farm mallards is a big topic right now. So releasing these kind of European strain mallards into the population, mostly for recreation. Clubs have been doing it out in the Atlantic flyway for a long time. There's still clubs even across the country doing it. But they're really driving a lot of hybridization. So this is all, again, people a lot smarter than me. Phil Levetsky at Texas A&M, El Paso, really getting into this and drilling down into it. But there's a pretty high proportion of Atlantic flyway mallards and Great Lakes mallards that are not native North American mallards. They're these introduced game farm mallards that were bred to be smaller, different morphometrics. So even their bill morphology is different. So they're more equipped to eat like big seeds, like corn and pellet feed, basically. And we know that's having some influence on our kind of native North American mallard.
so you think it's making them more vulnerable and not as successful
Yes.
to nest and so forth.
Yeah.
So just want to make it clear. What you're saying is that practice is not good for
It is not.
species.
No. No,
Wow.
and it's probably influencing even migration, distributional things to where
Wow.
where these
Disease.
ducks might be.
There's nothing about that sounds like it could be a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, and it's pretty emergent. I mean, it's fairly recent, and we're kind of getting involved in some of that and starting to use transmitters paired with those genetic data to really think about if those ducks are moving around the landscape differently and how much affinity they have to urban areas versus more natural WRP and moist soil type areas.
Yeah, well,
I would
So,
just
yeah,
hope and pray if something is definitively proven with quantitative, scrubbed, perfect research to be detrimental to wild game and wildlife, that it's addressed and banned and doesn't allow to keep going
Yeah.
on just because of whatever monetary or
Yeah.
financial reasons.
So one of
Oh my God, pray.
one of
If
the
that's
biggest
case, we can
negatives,
get
one of the
something
biggest
done.
negatives that I think Lavretsky's work has clearly shown is that these same game farm mallards are really what's driving hybridization with black ducks. Which his data is also showing that there's still a pretty distinct black duck lineage that's kind of staying separate from that. But apparently these game farm mallards will mate with anything. So that's really where we think they're driving a lot of that hybridization with black ducks and mottled ducks. These introduced mallards.
Well, look, I started off mentioning the black duck. It's probably my favorite duck.
Yeah,
and
they're so
I can
cool.
think of a handful. I don't think I've killed but a couple. But just the thought. Sometimes
I mean,
I've been in the
literally,
blind with toxic.
we kill them every hunt back in the
That's
say,
crazy.
late 70s into the 80s right there.
Well,
didn't realize that.
I've been hunting on Toxic's place when a group of mallards swung by in the sunshine and somebody said there's a black duck, and it's like nobody says anything. And we might not even shoot into that group just because we know how rare it is.
Yep.
And to think
We
that
don't-
something
yeah.
might be damaging the lineage of the.
But I mean, we don't, and that was a different place because that was actually at the Cottrell Lake. That's the only place we had at the time, and I guess they'd used that over the years and we're coming back every year. But I skipped to where we've got north of there 10 miles and got so much stuff now. We don't even see one a year killed. Now,
Wow.
you know.
You
That's
can always
interesting.
tell around us if you've had a big storm system in the northeast. We stop and if you're hunting in, especially in northeast Arkansas, you pick up a few black ducks. Or if you have a big river in the white and the cache is up, and there's a big push out of the northeast, they'll come down to Ohio and you pick some up. But it's Chris and them guys, when I was hunting with them in Ohio, killed a black duck. I was excited, and one of the guys we was hunting with was a rider by the name of Rick Nemechek, and he was hunting with me years ago, and we killed a black duck at home. He said, "Man, Jimbo, I remember you getting awfully excited about that." I said, "Well, yeah, they're pretty much kind of a trophy at home. You know, you shoot a black duck,
Yes,
it's
sir.
a cool deal, and you know they shoot them pretty regular up there, so
Wow.
pretty neat."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
And we've
think on
seen
the
some.
Atlantic
We have
coast-
seen hybrids.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
And we've quite a few had the glazed green head.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Keep us posted on that because that.
Yeah.
More-
Yeah. And like I
anything
said,
that-
Phil Lavretsky would be another. He gives great talks. Really, really neat guy.
So maybe we'd get him to write an article.
Yeah, we could. Look, we will love ducks. Anything that could be detrimental, we will.
You know,
figure
even
that
if it's
out.
not in my best interest, one thing we should all strive for in love of the wild is don't be scared of the truth,
Yeah.
and let's just let the truth have sunlight and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, you know, it may be something detrimental to us, but you know what? We'll have to shift gears and do something different, I guess. But
Yeah.
what we don't need to do is hide the truth.
Yeah. Well, and I'm in a really neat position, and Dr. Osborne and I are in a really neat position with our partnership with Mr. George at Five Oaks is we can pursue some of these questions that, I mean, typically university studies wouldn't address, and really use management and, I mean, the resource holders, the stakeholders in all this to help guide our research. And that's been a really neat opportunity through this program.
So look, we're at this stage of the conversation. I think I'd like to turn it over to Dudley and let him do some rapid fire questions to you.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
it's
And,
rapid fire time.
So Ryan, these are going to be pointed at you now. We've got a little segment we call Rapid Fire, and it's brought to you by our friends at Springfield Armory. Lanny, you had your pistol on your hip the other day.
I'm gonna tell you what, that's a serious piece of equipment is the best I can put it. That's for sure.
They're nice pistols.
Very nice
They sure are.
pistols.
All right, so Ryan, so Dudley's got some questions. You just we're gonna turn
so
it.
this-
he's gonna
this
give
is
you- it's
terrifying.
A or B, yes or no?
Yeah, you
boom,
can-
boom, boom.
If
Fast
I
as you
give
can
you
answer.
2, you can pick one or say neither. So there's not a wrong answer.
Okay.
Just let everybody get to know you a little bit better.
All right.
All right. Fire that
Cue
music,
the music.
back up.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Duck meat or deer meat?
Duck.
Fried or grilled?
Grilled.
Hearts or gizzards?
Ooh. Gizzards.
Good man. Semi-auto or over and under?
Semi-auto.
Divers or dabblers?
Dabblers.
Boat or blind or natural hunting?
Natural.
Public or private?
Private.
Camera or shotgun?
Both.
Sony or Canon?
Oh, neither.
Oh, whoa! Are you a Nikon
I
man?
am. I am a Nikon
I,
man.
I love you even more. Blind food, sweet or salty?
It's sweet.
All right.
Always.
Single read or double read?
Single.
Finally, which is cooler, hybrid duck or Jack Miner banded duck?
Hybrid. I got to take hybrid.
I'm a hybrid guy myself. So.
I know where that Jack Miner band came from right away.
Yeah, that's right.
It's that story is one of the coolest parts for me. So.
Yeah.
That was
way
good.
Good job.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thanks.
Well, he didn't.
I'm glad I
hesitate.
didn't disappoint.
No,
But
And
stopped him in his tracks, public or private, because it was like, I'm gonna have to be honest, but I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
Rob and I were talking about these questions earlier, and we were talking about the cameras. So I got to rib Rob. a
Yeah.
little bit.
I'm
He-
sorry.
I was like, is it Nikon or Canon? And he was like, a lot of people are shooting Sony now, so it's probably more of a Sony or Canon.
Yeah. No, I've talked about switching so many
I was a
times.
Nikon
I'm
guy
stuck.
back in my day
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
We
So
started out on Nikons too.
Fiercely loyal.
love it.
Well,
Awesome.
let's do this now. So now we'll ask a trivia question of both of you guys.
Oh.
If y'all get it right, one of our listeners will win a prize, and so we turn it over to Mac here. So Mac,
Right, and
who
if they get it wrong, we're still gonna give them a prize.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Good.
even better.
Yeah.
Takes the
That's
pressure
right,
off.
that's
I
right.
like that.
yeah, so we've got a lot. We've got this Nosler number 9 edition, and we've got a Princeton headlight that we can give away this week. So
Nice.
And a case
I
of
have
chips.
I've
Yeah,
read
yeah,
my
yeah.
my
Oh wow, a
Nosler.
whole
A whole
case.
case of chips.
Man.
Wow.
Dudley has cracked into every case of chips
Yeah,
back there.
minus
so
the ones that Dudley ate out of there.
I've got a Nosler 8 right by the bed, and I've got it memorized. And I don't reload a lot, but it's really interesting.
It actually is, and we'll get Dudley to sign this edition.
Oh my
of the
gosh,
book.
that would
Wow,
lower,
triple the
that would
value.
lower the value.
Yeah. So I think this question, if I'll go ahead and say this, I think you guys have knocked this one out of the park, but I think some of our listeners will learn something if they'll pay attention. So
Ooh.
What if
This
they
is all
don't?
on you, bud.
What if they don't, Bobby?
I
You've
don't-
embarrassed them.
We're gonna try.
Now you can phone a friend. Either one of you can phone a friend next to you. All right, so we're playing for J.M. Hearn, and if they get this right, J.M., reach out to us on Gamekeepers at mossyoak.com. That's Gamekeepers at mossyoak.com.
Wow.
Wow.
Look at that.
Good job,
Yeah.
Matt.
Passed the spelling test for today,
right.
didn't he?
I just want to make sure he gets his
Mr.
prize.
Know-It-All.
There you go.
All right. All right. So the question is, what is the term used to describe the ducks when ducks and geese turn vertical in flight to drop rapidly in altitude?
Whiffling.
That,
That's
Wow.
it.
that would be correct. So.
Wait, say that again.
Whiffling.
Whiffling?
Whiffling.
Okay.
Because, you know, we had a whole series, Whiffling Wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
The Mike Tyson series. Yeah.
That's good, Tyson. That's really good.
Now, I did hear the term the other day on a spec hunt. One fella called it chica penning.
Huh, chinkapinning.
I have no idea where it come from.
I've heard it called waffling, too. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's-
Waffling, whiffling, same.
Whiffling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that question yesterday, and I did not know the answer. So
Yeah.
now I know.
Now you
Yeah.
know.
Lanny, were you going to say waffling?
Well, I thought I was going to answer. So, I was confused. Yeah, but I was going to say waffling.
Yeah, well, that's pretty close. So, well, Dudley, have you got to ask Dudley a question?
I do. Guy named Craig sent this in. and it's similar to what some of the stuff we've been talking about. Dudley, can you give me some tips for getting y'all seedlings established in an area that typically floods? We're in a hunting camp inside the levee on the Mississippi River, kind of near Greenville, Mississippi.
Great question.
Great question.
Yes.
I'm listening.
And that
intently.
can probably go into the duck hole thing. We
Oh,
probably need to
100%.
cover that as well while
Yeah.
we're here. But I've sold a lot of trees and tubes to folks that are inside the levee, and a lot of times the river gets up and floods. But what I have learned just from reading and learning and do it myself and feedback from customers is that one of the best ways to do that is to mitigate your risk by splitting your planting season. So if you can, do a little bit of fall planting and a little bit of spring planting, because oftentimes you don't know when you're going to get that flood. And then another thing is just try to pick, when you're planting trees, try to pick, there may even be a 3-inch difference in elevation.
Makes a huge difference.
And so instead of just planting on a 25 by 25 grid or whatever, go out of your way to try to pick little bitty micro sites where there may be a higher elevation.
So a bigger issue is not whether it got flooded for a month or two, but that it's standing water for months at a time.
That's the issue.
Yeah, and if it gets over the head of the seedling,
Right.
that can be more detrimental because it can't breathe. If the
Right,
tip is,
right.
is covered in water. The colder the water, the better. If there's movement in the water, that's better. So, stagnant or warmer water is worse. But it's really all over the place. I've had customers, you remember the year that the South Delta flooded so much. I had people tell me that they had trees underwater, completely submerged for 7 months and still had 80% survival.
Wow.
And then I've had customers that, did have the moving water in the winter that lost a lot more. And that could have been maybe the soil eroding around the roots, almost like creating a little eddy or a swirl where
Right.
where the
Air
root.
pocket.
So if you had to choose, though, one or the other, would you say if you can get your water off immediately after duck season, that'd be the best time?
Yes, and I guess since we're on this subject, if this is a duck impoundment that you can control the water on, first I would say if you have one duck hole, I probably, as much as I want you guys to buy my trees, I would probably say don't just have your one duck hole covered in oak trees.
Oh, no, not completely, yeah.
Um,
Or plant them along the bank,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
yeah, plant them along
Because
the
they're
bank.
still going to do a lot for you
We
on
have
the
a
bank,
lot of
probably.
folks doing that. Plant them along the bank where the acorns can fall in. The leaves are just as beneficial for
And
insects.
they'll sure crawl up on a dry bank to eat a
yeah.
acorn.
Oh, yeah.
This may sound like a Captain Obvious answer, but make sure you're planting species-specific trees to a bottomland area.
100%.
Obviously.
You know.
So here in the South, we typically do a mix of willow oak and nuttall oak. If you want to get crazy with it, I would say the order of flood tolerance, and you may disagree, would be nuttall, then willow, and the further north you've got pin oak, which is probably tied with willow oak, and then you start getting into water oak and cherry bark. And those would be, water oak and cherry bark would be the ones you would want to flood the latest and get the water off the soonest. And if you are going to plant trees in a duck hole and flood it every year and keep the water on for a really long time, don't. You'll be let down. You
Right.
may want to do some moist soil stuff instead. So.
Well, that was good.
That's going,
You,
Doug.
Mr. Know-It-All.
Yeah, and if you've got any questions that are specific to your particular scenario, don't hesitate to email me, nursery@mossyoak.com, and I'll try and get you a specific answer.
He'll get you fixed up.
Good stuff
Like
right
none
there.
other.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we have enjoyed having y'all.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been
Thank y'all
Thanks
for
for
being
having
here. Yeah.
Enjoy it.
We've learned a lot.
We have as much fun as you do.
Is that?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's good because I had a lot of fun.
That's good.
One more quick question along those lines. So how big of an acorn is too big for ducks?
Oh.
You almost got by without that question. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
That
So are nut-alls too big for them?
no,
Okay.
no, nut-alls are not too big. It's when you get into like Delta post oak
Right,
and even Shumard.
Ooh, Delta
Yeah.
Post and Shumard. Those
Yeah,
are
Shumard's
big.
getting pretty big, and
Yeah, Shumard
I've definitely heard that they can. I don't
The
have
only
data
one
to
I've
back
seen
that up.
as a kid, I saw on many occasions, I saw wood ducks stuffed all the way down from the back of their beak all the way down with swamp chestnuts.
Oh
Wow.
What?
And yes,
Dang.
and
That's
I've never seen another duck eat them before, but I think a wood duck will eat any acorn.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's hopefully with this DNA data, this diet study will
That
have me
I
back
can't
in a year.
wait
I'll
to
be
see
able to
that.
give you a
Me
better
neither.
answer.
I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah. Ron, do you ever watch our television show on the Outdoor Channel?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
So, Richie,
Talk
wake
about putting him
up,
on the
Richie.
spot.
Well,
Do you expect him to say, no, do y'all have a TV show? I didn't know that.
Game what?
Richie, let's hook up with him. I bet you he's got some subject matters for television that would be off the charts.
I imagine so.
Yeah. So
There you go.
would you make
Wow.
a
Richie's awake.
promise me, Richie?
Richie
you'll,
woke up. Good.
Yeah. Promise me, Richie, that you'll look into that.
I'll do what I can.
Okay.
Words from the mountaintop.
Yeah.
Right there.
There you go.
On
Pinky
public
promise.
record.
Yeah. So Ryan, thank you for being here. Y'all,
Yeah.
Jim,
No,
y'all
thank you
traveled all
Thanks
the way
for being
down,
here for
and
us,
I know
guys.
y'all got to get back because you're trying to put boards in some risers this evening before
That
the
rain,
rain.
that rain tox he's talking about is coming. It's going to hit us before it hits
Going to
y'all.
hit him first,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just hope. Hey, I don't want to talk about it. Never mind.
Yeah,
I
don't
want
say
I
rain.
don't want to jinx it.
I have enough stuff stocked up that I'm probably comfortable.
I'm just going to say this. My family is setting up a tailgate Saturday, so it is going to rain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
That's,
don't have to worry about that.
that'll do it.
You may be
Yeah.
right. You may
That,
be
and,
right.
you know,
I hope
in the
you
South, cutting hay will do it every time.
Yeah. So,
So look, guys, we would appreciate if you'd watch the TV show Tuesday nights, the Gamekeepers of Mossy Oak. Y'all check us out. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with your friends. Subscribe to it. Give us a
Yeah.
review. You might even win a prize. So we've had a lot of fun. I'm looking at Toxie. If you got anything else you want to cover or points you want to cover, I know your stomach's rumbling.
I'm thinking, can we make it under the wire for fried chicken? It's gonna be close.
I sure love some fried chicken.
Yeah, well, don't stand in front of Lanny, but between Lanny and the door when this is over with. So say goodbye, Dudley.
What?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. What?
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
one
what you
last
got?
shameless plug.
Oh, good.
yeah,
with
of course.
with this Five Oaks program,
should have asked.
we're trying to train the next generation of science-based gamekeepers. So we've got 4 graduate certificate students right now that we're training up. We're giving them the science background through UAM. They're getting the habitat, the hands-on equipment operation experience at Five Oaks, and we're just. If there's anybody looking for new managers that they're looking to hire in the next few years, we should be pumping 4
Got a
great young
fresh
people
crop.
out.
All right.
Out
That's
every
awesome.
single
That's
year.
good.
So
for
good.
So
Golden
hit us up.
Child.
Yeah, and have y'all got a Instagram handle?
We've got an
people can
Instagram,
follow?
yep. So it's FOAGREC, which is Five Oaks Ag Research and Education Center. We've got a website. You can just Google Five Oaks, and you should be able to find the research
And we'll
center.
post
pretty-
that for people too.
Yeah.
So
That would
they
be
don't have to-
fantastic.
sure
No,
will.
yeah, really appreciate it.
Okay. All right, Jim, you got anything? No.
Man, yeah, just plug. Check out DrakeWaterfowl.com.
There you
There
go.
you
All
go.
right, that sounds good. All right, say
Boys.
goodbye, Dudley.
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Mac.
Quack, quack, quack.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.